Jack Todd and I were the first Gazette reporters to be sent to the scene. By the time we arrived there was quite a crowd outside the building.
When we first got there, we still thought, shots fired, maybe nothing has happened. Then they began bringing out the wounded, and I saw so many wounded come out that in a strange way it was comforting, because from what I knew about casualties in the military, usually the ratio of wounded to killed is they're far more wounded than anything else. And we had convinced ourselves, I think, that there was probably one person dead in there.
I remember looking at the crowd and seeing two men come through the crowd. These were obviously police officers. You could tell by their comportment, the way they were dressed, and they were making a beeline for the front door. As they passed me, I sort of swung in behind them as though I was with them, thinking, betting that I wouldn't be asked for ID because I would be considered part of their party, right? And sure enough, we cleared 2 checkpoints. They were asked questions, I wasn't. I was able to get into that building because I could, as a woman, make myself invisible. I was not invisible. I'm 5'7". I was wearing a bright blue coat that night. I was just inconsequential.
And I think it was Pierre Obendrauf who pointed to me all the ambulances that had still been waiting. And it hit me that they were waiting for a reason. You don't keep 14 or 15 ambulances idling for hours because there are 1 or 2 casualties inside that building.
There was a guard outside one particular classroom. I walked past the classroom and looked inside, just slowed down to a stop, and saw on the ground 2 bodies. One was the body of the killer, a rifle across his legs. The other was a young blonde woman who had a bulky black, white, and red sweater on. Along came another person, a young guy, a student, and we're both standing there leaning against the wall talking about what we had seen. He told me that he had heard that the killer had separated the students, had gone into classrooms and told the men to get to one area and the women to get to another area.
I think the worst news I have ever heard in my life came when the police chief came out and announced that there were 14 dead, and they were all women.
When a janitor came down the hall, and he saw me, of course, and he immediately freaked out. "What are you doing here? Are you crazy? Get out of here. Don't you know they're killing women?" And I told him, I'm a reporter, just doing my job, and he would have none of it. He grabbed me by the arm, marched me to the front door, opened the door, and sort of gently pushed me out. And that was it for that night.
Someone had gone through there who hated women, who had a grudge, who was just shriveled up with his own hatred, and had done the most horrible act we can imagine. And I don't think any of us who were there that night have ever forgotten it or will ever be quite the same.